Alright guys, let's do a excuse me, Mutant Shredder build video here because you guys are starting to get them. So obviously you're going to come with your chassis pieces. You've got your two main rails, top mohawk, and then the skid sections. And then the printed pieces, you're going to come with two shock sliders, which is what this one is. Skid, you guys can see that. And then we've got the front hood brace, the top hood brace, that'll go right here. I'll show you guys later. And then the rear braces. And then two set screws, and you'll get a bunch of hardware also in the kit with two standoffs, aluminum standoffs. You guys can see those like that. But let me get you started here. The first thing you want to do, grab a rail. All right. And then put your shock sliders on. They come with screws on the backside, right through these two holes right here. And then your shock slider should be on. You can do that to both sides. These are just in there by hand. So go ahead and back those out. Try not to drop them because they are smaller screws. If you do drop them, guys, I believe they're only 4mm long screws. So make sure you're on opposite sides. We've already got this one. Sorry, with the colors, the camera doesn't like to catch everything. We've got this one on this side. So we're going to have to put this one on the opposite side over here. So make sure you've got them lined up correctly. Oop, there we go. So you'll see the holes. It does have nice brass heat inserts inside the printed material. It's extremely strong printed material. So it's going to definitely last a long time. This is how we get our legal width for WRCCA rules. This is a part of the chassis. Acts as a spacer and a shock slider on the chassis. Spacer for your shock, and then shock slider for the rest there. And guys, if you do get something like this one here, it looks like I might need to sand it a little more. It's kind of spaced off of the chassis. You can kind of see that light gap through there. You can take it off, and if you've got like a sanding board, nail file, just run it up and down until it becomes level here. Most of them should sit fairly level. This one looks like I missed a little bit, but that's okay. I mean, that's if you just want it to sit flat, you can, and usually you do. So I'll touch that one up before it gets shipped out for sure. So your shock sliders are on now. Well, opposite sides. Got one on that side, one on this side. So the rail's obviously going to sit like this. And then the next thing I would tell you to do is we're going to start with our braces. So you've got set screws here, just like this. One side has an end on it for the small 1.5. Okay. So we'll start with the upper top. So be honest with you, let me see here. Actually, they need to go back. So they'll go back like this. It doesn't really matter. You got to get a screw in them no matter what. So go ahead and start those. So what we're going to do, this will sandwich basically the mohawk. So it's going to stay like this here. Clean that. There we go. Like that. You can go in a little bit more if you'd like. But then it's going to go back like this. Back of the mohawk. Mohawk will go through. We're going to send this in a little bit further into the printed piece. You'll notice when you start threading these in, these printed pieces are extremely strong. Alright, and then let's get the other one on. Let's see here if I can do it underneath the camera for everybody. Now, there is another rule of thumb too. If you having trouble starting any of these, you can take this off, grab you a screw from the kit. You can start those that way. Sometimes once you get the threads going, everything else just kind of falls into place here. Threads going. There you go. Back that back out. We do make them tight for the tolerances, guys, just because that's what you want with printed pieces. You want them to be snug, tight. That way they don't lose a thread. This stuff is extremely strong, like I said. So put it on there and then start running her home. You can hear that. Very strong stuff. So that'll be a good spot right now to stay in. They'll look a little different, obviously. Let's tighten that up a little more. There we go. And you'll clock them. But then when we install them, you'll be able to move them up and down too to get them in the right position. Obviously the Mohawk is just centered, and then you'll be able to get these right. So that's how we're going to start this one. And then the next one is the same way. Grab this here. Here's our second set screw. These are going to go to the chassis side, and then these will be in the middle. So start with that. Let's go ahead and get it in there pretty good. There we go. And then like this. These are going to be the center bolts for the top. I'll show you that in a minute. And then let's get this one started. There we go. Run it in. Okay. Don't have to be crazy, super tight. Just make sure everything's snug against the carbon. Okay. We're good on there. And then your next thing you would want to do is grab the shorter bolts. Some of them are going to be longer, some are going to be shorter for putting everything together. Let's see here. Should be 10s. Because you do want some, like I said, you want some thread engagement through those. Go through the chassis like this, through the outside of it. Shock sliders here. Go ahead and make sure your Mohawk is following the same shape of the chassis. And then we'll go ahead and start this one in here. See, it will start to get very tight, so you'll have to hold stuff. There we go. Like I said, you'll be able to move these into place once we're all done. And then back here, you'll be able to... So back here, it'll kind of determine how you want your shocks and everything will be to be. But you've got 2 holes here to set in the chassis. Usually one hole up at the top to start these braces, and then your other hole you can put another set. You could do another screw right underneath of it to make sure the brace is held. The top's also going to hold the brace, but then it also depends on where through here you're going to run your shocks. So a lot of that comes to tuning. Grab you another screw though, another 10. We're going to go through this carbon, or through the print, through the carbon, and then into the brace. Can you use like a drill, like a DeWalt or Milwaukee? You can. Just remember with printed parts, that can bring up trouble for you if the bolt or the screw gets too hot. Might melt the print, might loosen up the threads. It might be too tight. Might, you know, it brings in a lot of stuff that can create problems. But as long as you're smart about it and watch what you're doing, you should be fine. Okay, and like I said, we'll be able to turn that once it's all installed. Let's get this other side here. Grab you another 10. Sorry guys, I'm doing this with the camera right in front of me because I wanted to give you guys the best shot. I didn't want to give you an overhead view because sometimes people get confused with an overhead view. They'll do something backwards, or they'll see something opposite. And I didn't want that to happen to you guys. So I'm fighting that camera pretty much at my chest, stand at my feet. But we'll get through it and get you guys all taken care of here. Keep that tight. You can see that the printed part moved on me, but that's not a big deal. Just keep your thumb in the area. Hold it down till this gets snug. There we go. Like I said, we'll be able to adjust these. can adjust this printed piece up. Grab this one, adjust this one up. Let's get this back brace on here. Keep hitting the camera, sorry guys. Grab another one, get it started. Make sure I got it going here. Oh, missed it. There it goes. Well, maybe. Let's see if I can get it in some better light for me here. There we go. There. Sorry, I had to get it in the light for myself there, guys. There we go. Tighten that down. That's tightened up, and then basically you're going to want these level on the back side, just like that, and then you'll want these level with the chassis on the front. Turn that down a little bit, just like that. There we go. There's our braces. So that part is done now. No biggie. The front hood section here, if you look on the underneath of it, they have been drilled for the screws, ready to go. You'll see kind of like a little arrow there, if it would focus. Maybe. Well, it doesn't want to, but there it goes. So you kind of see like a little arrow there. So that arrow is going to point to the back of the chassis. So when you go to put these on, it'll go up in here like this. And usually you'll have one screw in a hole not being used. If I can get the light to show you. A hole not being used, and then one screw, obviously, or one bolt will be for your shock. And that'll go in there. And then we'll have two screws for the hood or whatever, or the top there when you go to use it and make your top. So, and then your skid section, obviously, we've got these. These will go, this part is the back of the skid. If I can get the light to show you there. The rear of the skid, and then this part is the front. The light there. So front, rear. Angled part with the two here, it's going to go towards the front, just like this. It'll line up with those holes. And then when you put it together with your links and everything, your links will go between the chassis, your rod ends will go between the chassis, and then these will go right in the center like this. And those will go on both sides of the carbon pieces, just like this. So then basically you've got your chassis here, your rod ends will go on this side, sandwiched between the chassis here, like this, and then your bolts, your long ones, will go all the way through into the standoffs. And then once you do your top, guys, your top will come with you. You'll just cut the outside. You'll see the lines underneath, and then you'll basically have the two screws up front that you already seen in the brace. And this brace here, that's what these are. Screws and screws. You'll mark those from underneath. And then mine was a little different during the prototype session, but your screws will be back here because you'll be lined up like this. Instead, I had these flipped forward. It was just during prototyping, but we found out back here is a little bit nicer for everybody. And then you'll have, obviously, the two screws on the top back here from these braces. Okay, and that's pretty much it. And then, whoops, sorry, truck hit the camera. And then you got your links. These are still the prototype status, but you'll have bent rod ends on the skid side on both sides, and then straights everywhere else. So bent rod end, bent rod end, bent rod end, bent rod end, straights everywhere else. All right. And all of the links are labeled. They're color-coded on the ends of the link themselves. And it'll come with a card telling you which color is what on each link. But there you go, guys. It's a pretty simple forward build. Hopefully you guys enjoy these. These things have been incredible and awesome out on the course with us. We've had so much fun with them. And the performance is just really proven itself. Once these get out into the public here, which you guys are starting to get now, and get some tuning on them and get running, I think these things are going to really, really turn some heads for sure. But thank you so much, guys. I needed to make a quick video for you so you guys could see all that. Mutant Shredder, thank you so much for the love and support, guys. We will see you on the next one.